Good morning and welcome to Health Matters with the Medicine Center Pharmacy. I am your pharmacist, Paul White. We're glad you joined us. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Altman Health Systems. Today, Brad and I are broadcasting from our administrative offices, and our special guest is Allison Lippley. Am I correct on that?
Actually, Lively.
Lippley. Okay.
Yes.
All right. You need to change the spelling of it.
I know. I tell my husband that all the time.
Okay. Pulmonary rehabilitation lead and exercise physiologist at Altman Dubel Health and Vascular Hospital. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Morning.
Are you considering quitting smoking, or is there someone in your life that you want to help quit smoking? When someone takes the big step of deciding to quit smoking, family, friends, and coworkers can make a huge difference in giving help and support. If your friend isn't quite ready yet, try to see it from their side. For most smokers, cigarettes have been a steady companion for a long time. Some reluctance is normal, and it doesn't mean your friend won't be able to quit for good. First, let your friend know you understand their doubts, and then suggest they list their reasons for quitting. Quitting smoking is a journey and a process. It's not a single event. Access resources to get tips on what you can do to help from the start and help someone quit smoking and stay quit. Plan on being there for the long run and helping them meet the challenges along the way. This morning, we're going to talk with Allison about the reasons to quit smoking, managing the physical effects of quitting smoking, and most importantly, how to receive help and support through the process. We'd like to remind our listeners that this program is available on our podcast. Just look for Health Matters with the Medicine Center Pharmacy in your favorite podcast app, and please subscribe to our program.
Okay, Allison, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, your background, training, and your specialty.
All right, Paul. Well, hello. Hi, guys. Good morning. As Paul mentioned, I am an exercise physiologist, so I primarily work in cardiac rehab as well as pulmonary rehab. I am currently the lead of the pulmonary rehab program at the main hospital, Altman Dual Heart and Vascular Hospital. And then I also run a tobacco cessation program called Give It Up, which includes a lot of counseling on how to quit smoking using nicotine products. So that is my main job here at this hospital.
So, how many people are affected by tobacco-related illnesses?
So unfortunately, we see a lot of our patients that are affected by tobacco-related illnesses. We see a lot of heart and lung diseases, as well as vascular disease. That is something that has been up and coming lately. So lung diseases that are common do include COPD, emphysema, asthma. We have chronic bronchitis. We do see a lot of patients that have lung cancer or other cancers related to tobacco use or smoking in general. And heart disease and strokes are obviously more common in long-term smokers as well. So we do see a lot of those patients with the cardiac and pulmonary rehabs too.
So, how does smoking affect our appearance, especially as we age?
Yes.
I know the answer, but a lot of people won't listen. So
Yes. It's funny that you brought this up because we recently started the teen vaping initiative. So we've been going into the schools to talk about vaping, because vaping has been a very common thing that's been taken over. And one of the things that the kids always say is, well, a lot of the smokers look a lot older than they usually are. And that is unfortunately the case. We see those smokers looking older than they actually are due to that production of the enzyme that breaks down the collagen, which reduces our skin's elasticity. And it does make us more wrinkled, saggy, aged. We do definitely see more plaque and tartar buildup in our teeth and in our mouth. So we see, a lot of cavities or tooth decay, tooth loss, mouth sores. It's just an overall an effect on the entire body. And unfortunately, it affects a lot of us.
Wow. So, what are some of the common myths or misconceptions about cigarettes, smoking, and quitting?
We see a lot of these, and I'll go over a couple of the main ones. The one that I always get a lot for the patients that come to me that want to stop smoking is, well, I smoke because it relieves my stress. And actually, research has shown that smoking increases our stress overall. That calming effect that a cigarette actually gives you is due to the relief of the symptoms. So like the irritability and the anxiety and restlessness. And that's caused by that nicotine withdrawal. So smoking increases stress by causing that frequent withdrawal periods during the day between each cigarette. So that nicotine, that's a stimulant and it releases that stress hormone like adrenaline. So that sparks up our fight or flight response. So when we do see that, we just recommend trying to take a few deep breaths before picking up that next cigarette. We also get the one that's always, well, it's too late to quit. The damage is already done. Like I've already smoked my whole life. What's the point? Well, guess what? You're wrong, right? The damage of smoking improves quickly after quitting at any age, right? So many of the health effects of smoking reverse quite rapidly, actually. So just 24 hours after definitely reduces your risk of a heart attack or stroke, and your nicotine levels decrease. So those are two of the ones that we get a lot. The other one that we do hear a lot in the schools, nicotine is just the major toxic ingredient in cigarettes. So if I vape or if I use something along those lines, it's a lot safer because maybe it doesn't have nicotine. Well, you're wrong. Nicotine is definitely the addictive drug in the cigarettes and the vape products, but there's also over 7,000 toxics and chemicals in that tobacco product. So specifically tar and carbon monoxide, those are going to cause a lot of those issues.
Interesting. My biggest problem with cigarettes, okay? I never really smoked cigarettes, but my biggest problem is the massive amounts of cigarette butts that I have had to pick up in the Army, around my stores, and around every place else. I probably have a dump truck load.
It's ridiculous. It's crazy.
I think that's one of the things that really bothers me the most about it is that the smokers just have no, what's the word I'm looking for here? They don't sprinkle out their
license to litter.
It's just right. It's just, they taught us in the Army how to get rid of them without them being a mess. Okay.
Right.
you shut the paper and the tobacco and throw it in the ground and step it into the ground. And then you put the cigarette butt in your pocket.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Yes.
Instead of throwing it on our medicine center pharmacy lot.
Yes.
Okay.
My favorite is when you're driving down the road and someone throws it out their car window.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
and with their empty can of pop too. So.
Yes. We understand.
Okay, sorry.
All right. So on average, how many times does it take a smoker to try to quit?
So on average, the number of quit attempts is somewhere between that 6 to 8 times before they actually succeed. But unfortunately, smoking is a continuous cycle. It's an addiction, and it's like a hamster wheel that never stops, right? The number can vary based on individual circumstances and the methods used for quitting. So it just kind of depends on the person, but overall, it's about 6 times.
Jeez.
Any data on why it's so difficult to quit?
Yeah, well, it's that addiction part in our brain, right? That nicotine is going to damage those receptors in our brain, and it's going to continuously our brain's going to keep craving that cigarette and that high that nicotine actually gives us. And it's just an ongoing cycle, just like anybody that might be addicted to drugs or alcohol. It's just as bad, unfortunately.
So what, is there a safe number of cigarettes a day to smoke?
I get that one a lot, right? If I just have one, it's okay. Unfortunately, no, there's no safe amount of cigarettes to smoke. Just one cigarette a day or even less can still pose a significant risk to your health, right? You're definitely not supposed to inhale certain things into your lungs. So.
All right. So what can you replace cigarettes with?
Yes. So in our Give It Up program, our tobacco cessation program, we get this a lot. People miss that feeling of holding a cigarette or in your hand or in your mouth. And smoking is a habit, it's a ritual. So when you try to quit, you definitely are going to have some of those. We always suggest replacing that cigarette with maybe a toothpick or a straw. Some people replace it with gum or candy, and they do really well. We do also have nicotine replacement therapy, like patches or gums. That's the most common type of the replacement therapy, but those help with weaning off of that nicotine.
All right. One last thing before our commercial break. Are e-cigarettes a safe alternative?
I could go on and on for this. Like we've talked about in our schools, unfortunately, these e-cigarettes, or we know them as vapes, they were originally known or designed to help people stop smoking. But as we've learned from the little research over the years, vapes or e-cigs, they're just as dangerous, if not worse, because we don't know the large amounts of nicotine in these products, right? You have one cigarette and that's like your dose. You have 1 milligram of nicotine, but in these vape products, we don't know how many milligrams of nicotine are in these. So each time you hit your vape, you're getting probably a lot more than just one cigarette. So they all have the same chemicals plus more because of all of their fun flavors that the kids have actually taught us when we go into the school. So in my opinion, they're definitely not a safer choice. If not, they're a little bit worse.
First time I saw a driver vaping and driving and blowing it out, I thought the car was on fire.
I know, it's kind of scary when you see it.
Okay, time for our first break. You're listening to Health Matters with the Medicine Center Pharmacy. Welcome back to Health Matters with the Medicine Center Pharmacy. Friends, just a reminder to stop by the pharmacy and talk to a pharmacist about our Health Matters membership savings program. We want to help you stay well and save money. So, what are common withdrawal symptoms and how are they managed?
All right, so we have a lot of withdrawal symptoms that usually happen, obviously including that urge to smoke, right? When someone stops doing something, you kind of want to do that thing again a little bit more. So mood changes are very common. Feeling irritated, grouchy, depressed, trouble sleeping. We have increased appetites usually because your taste buds come back and you actually have the urge to eat a little bit more. So of course that comes with gaining weight. So we manage these symptoms a lot, or in many different ways. Our cravings can be triggered by things that make you think about smoking. So we try to change up people's routines. Maybe remember why you quit. Remind yourself why you're quitting. We use the method called the 4Ds a lot, which includes drinking water, usually through a straw, because that helps with your mouth wanting that cigarette. Taking deep breaths, distracting yourself, and delay that cigarette use. So if you can count to 60 and you still have that urge to smoke, then I say go for it, because you're going to do it either way. So we use those 4Ds until it becomes a little bit easier.
Wow. Okay. Is it better to quit alone or with the help of a cessation support group?
Anything is better with a group, in my opinion. So it's always best to know you're not alone in situations, right? Or any journey that you're going through. So everyone is going to have a different experience, but it's always nice to have that encouragement when you do decide to make that big change. So that's why we do these quitting cessation groups, or in a group setting, I should say.
Gosh, this question, well, never mind. If a patient has COPD and lung disease, does it matter if they quit?
We talked.
That's a dumb question, by the way.
Hey, we get it all the time, right? I still see patients on a day-to-day basis that do have either lung cancer or lung disease, and they're on oxygen and they smoke as soon as they come in from, or walking in from their car to the building, and as soon as they leave, like, they're still smoking. So it's the most essential step in any treatment of COPD is to quit smoking, and that helps from keeping your COPD from getting worse and reduces your ability to breathe. It's not an easy task, but continuing to smoke is going to make your lungs weaker and make them more prone to infection and inflammation. So when patients are always like, man, I really want to stop smoking, and they're wearing oxygen. Well, I mean, you know what an open flame and oxygen usually leads to. Probably not something that you should continue to do.
Burn the house down, yeah.
Yeah, or their face or anything. Or I have patients that'll take their oxygen off. I'm like, guys, you need that to breathe. Come on.
Jeez. Incredible. Okay.
It's crazy.
How successful is it? Cold turkey quit.
It's usually less than about a 10% success rate. So how often do we tell ourselves we're not going to eat sweets for a day, and then you have a really bad day and resort back to those sweets? I mean, it's really hard, but if you put your mind to it, some people do succeed. It just kind of depends on that person.
How do you manage the cravings while you're quitting?
Yeah. So first and foremost, the cravings are going to pass. You always have to remember that, right? It's going to be really, really hard the first week to 2 weeks, but eventually it does get better if you can make it past that. We do try deep breathing exercises. We teach our patients those a lot. Avoiding situations where it's going to be tempting to smoke. So hanging out at new places, switch up your routine in the morning. A lot of our patients, they step out of bed and that's the first thing they do. They get that cigarette. So we try to switch that morning routine up a little bit. And remember, these feelings are temporary. They're going to go away and they're going to get better. We always recommend exercising, trying to maintain a healthy, balanced diet so that your hormones are all in check, and definitely seek support because you're not alone in that.
Tell me, when all of the bans on restaurants and smoking and in airliners and, all that kind of stuff, did that help decrease smoking, or did it just increase it?
I feel like it increased it in other places, right? More people are doing it, at their homes instead, or, they're hanging out elsewhere, or maybe they switched. That's a lot of times where we see the increase in vape products because, people don't like the smell of the cigarette smoke, but the vape products are really cool, right? You got blueberry and blue raz and, cotton candy flavors, and they smell good. That's what all the kids are, that's why they're addicted or transitioning to the vape products, because they smell good, they might taste good to them. So I think a lot of people changed the way that they smoke these products, not necessarily stopped altogether.
I remember when there was a smoking section in airliners, and that was a long time ago. And
Yes.
but the smoke was all over the airplane. There wasn't any real divider.
Right.
To contain the smoke. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is kind of crazy.
It's crazy. And it's not just affecting them, it's affecting everybody else because of that secondhand smoke.
Correct.
So it's crazy.
All right, so let's talk about support. How, if I have a friend who's trying to quit smoking, how can I be supportive?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? We want to make sure that they're feeling like they have your support. So definitely don't nag them on their efforts to quit or doubt their success. That's going to be really helpful. And you want to definitely find ways to help keep them busy, celebrate their wins. Any win is a good win, right? You need to celebrate their process and remind them that things do get easier. Make sure that you check in with them. I have a lot of patients that have significant others or family members that still smoke, even though they're trying to quit. And that's really hard, right? If you have someone around you that is constantly smoking, but you're trying to give that up, it's going to make you want that more, right? You're going to say, well, they're doing it, so why can't I? So definitely try to join their process. Maybe it'll make things a little bit easier, and it's helpful to go through that with somebody else rather than just yourself.
Okay.
Interesting.
What, tell us about the Give It Up program.
Yeah. So our Give It Up program is a 4-week program that is held 1 hour once a week. These are group sessions. So they're in a group and they cover everything from how to create a quitting plan to tips on staying tobacco free. So we discuss a lot of barriers that have kept one from quitting, maybe in the past or lately, learn to combat those obstacles that come along with quitting. And then we do offer that free nicotine replacement therapy. So not only do we help with the quitting process, but we are also there to help, talk about the stress and the issues that might come along with making you want to smoke on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. How can people sign up for this class?
Yeah, definitely. So we are located at the Altman Hospital, the Bedford building on the third floor, in the cardiac rehab department. So you can either walk into that department and sign up in person. You can sign up online at the Altman website and search "Give It Up." That it takes you straight to the online process, or you can call us. And our phone number is the 330-363-5403. You can just ask for Give It Up or the tobacco program.
Okay, very good. You mentioned it, but you mentioned where the classes are, but how often a week do you have them?
So we have a wide variety of options for our Give It Up classes. We usually hold classes either once or twice a week. I have a group of people that work alongside me. Classes are either virtual for those people that might not be able to get into the hospital, or they're in person if you want that support. And you can find our class schedule on our website on the Give It Up page. Usually they're early mornings, early afternoons, or late in the day. So we do have a wide variety, so that way people are able to make it.
Bottom of the hour and time for the news. Thanks for listening to Health Matters with the Medicine Center Pharmacy. So you're listening to Health Matters with the Medicine Center Pharmacy. I'm your host and pharmacist, Paul White. This morning we are talking with Allison Lipley, MS, EP, TTS. Could you tell us what those degrees are?
Yeah, so MSEP is my master's in exercise physiology. So I got my master's through Akron University. And then the TTS is the tobacco treatment specialist. So that is my certification to help with the Give It Up program and helping people stop smoking.
Wow. Anyway, she's from Altman Dubel Heart and Vascular Hospital. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay.
You're good. I get it all the time. Don't worry.
So before the break, we were talking about the Give It Up program, and I thought it might be helpful for listeners just joining us if you might touch on the benefits of quitting tobacco products.
Definitely. There's a lot of benefits to quitting those tobacco products. These include but they're not limited to just your heart rate and blood pressure levels dropping. Quitting the nicotine levels, or quitting the tobacco, will actually drop your nicotine levels just 24 hours after you quit that. Several days after, your carbon monoxide in the blood is going to decrease. You'll notice a lot of phlegm coming up the first couple days, and then less phlegm production will actually start to occur after that. So obviously you're not going to be as coughing as much or wheezing as much, and it's going to improve your lung function and your sense of taste and smell. So that would be a good thing, right? You'd be able to smell things and taste things again and breathe.
I think it was nice that you talked about the cravings and how they will subside after time. You know, whether you're trying to lose weight or quit smoking, you know, the first probably week or two is the hardest. I understand. I mean,
definitely.
You know, after you've cut out sweets for 2 weeks, you don't really crave them anymore. People don't believe me when I say that, but I've had people and patients tell me that.
Yes,
So,
yes. No, you're for sure. Yeah.
I'm thinking the same with cigarettes. I mean, it's like if you're a big, heavy coffee drinker and you get a lot of caffeine, you feel like you get the caffeine headache if you don't have your 3 cups of coffee in the morning. Well, you know,
same thing.
Yeah. So
definitely.
But you know, can you talk about too how you guys use a variety of different smoking cessation products to help support patients?
Yes. So we actually use the nicotine patch, and it comes in 3 milligrams or 3 doses. So the 21 milligrams, the 14, or the 7. So depends on how much you smoke, or how often you smoke, or how quickly your first cigarette is from the time you wake up. We just kind of use those, and you don't get necessarily addicted to that nicotine patch. You can use those for a wide variety or a long period of time without having any effects, and very little side effects occur with your patch. And then the nicotine gum is also used just in case people have a weird reaction to the patch, maybe irritates the skin or something along those lines, or they need that feeling of chewing something in their mouth. that nicotine gum is used to. And you can get those over the counter, or you can get them in your pharmacy, or obviously with us in our Give It Up program, or your doctor can refer those. There's other products out there, but those are the two that we are using more and more often. And you can use them together too. If you need, the gum and then the patch, those can be combined. There's no issue with that.
Okay.
When the gum first came out, it was really hard as a rock.
Yes.
And I guess now it's a lot more, not soothing, but chewable, if you will.
Yes, and they have more flavors, I think, now than
Yes.
when it just came out. A lot of my patients come to me and they're like, I don't want anything to do with the gum. I'm like, well, how did you chew it? Because a lot of people don't necessarily know how to use the nicotine gum. You chew, and then you park it. It's not like you're chomping on actual gum. And there's some side effects with the gum, heart rate and just dizziness and not feeling well or nauseous. And that's why people are less likely to use the gum, more likely to use the patch.
What about alcohol and cigarettes together? These smokers or drinkers,
Yeah.
And smokers drink a lot of coffee, with a smoke too. What do you think about the alcohol combo?
If you think about that, they're both stimulants. So they're both going to cause a lot of issues with your heart rate and your blood pressure and just giving you that all-time high feeling. A lot of times people that smoke, they relate it to something else. So like in the morning, we have patients that get up, they go to the bathroom and they smoke their cigarettes while they're drinking their coffee. So they usually relate smoking to another thing. So maybe that's alcohol for some people. I've had a patient that has gone through, a gambling issue. So he quit smoking and he went gambling and bought a pack of cigarettes, and he wasn't able to stop after, that one pack. So just starting it again definitely is a fallback. Yeah.
Excuse me. I remember the church that I know of that had a very large bingo program.
Yeah.
And the people were allowed to smoke. And when they cut off the smoking, I guess the bingo players most of them didn't come around.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, my gosh, that's what that's all about, huh?
Yeah. You only enjoy bingo because you're smoking.
Yeah. I thought, come on. So can't you stimulate these people another way?
Right.
So
yes.
anyway,
it's crazy.
Hey, so what about recommendations for websites?
Yeah. So if we're not interested in that Give It Up program, that's totally okay. There's a lot of other resources out there. There's the 1-800-QUIT-NOW program that is, you just call them. You can talk to someone anytime, any day. It's anonymous, so they don't know who you are. You don't have to give them any information. The truthinitiative.com, that has a lot of good resources, not only about smoking, but about vaping. So if someone is struggling with quitting vaping as well, that is something that they can use too. And then obviously our program is always here too. It is a free program. So, I mean, even if you're thinking about it, you can go through this program more than one time.
Did I jump over some of your questions, Brad?
No, I think we're kind of at the point where I'd kind of like her to share something about, I'm sure you've had experiences with patients who felt there was no hope and they couldn't make it happen. I just wondered if you wanted to share a memorable experience that somebody might identify with.
Yeah, for sure. So I have recently had a patient that, she's just having a really hard time, and not necessarily with smoking, but stress overall. And, a lot of patients that come to me, they are not just dealing with trying to quit smoking. They're dealing with a lot of other issues, maybe losing a job or losing your house or losing a spouse. There's a lot of stress. And unfortunately, it's a hard topic, and it's not going to be an easy route, but we took it day by day, and she's quit smoking, and she's been really well without her cigarettes and uses the nicotine patch still, but she's on the lowest dose right now. And it's awesome to see that we helped do that, helped counsel her through that, and had all of the resources that she needed and was able to do that. So even though there's a lot of issues that you might not be able to control, even if you can only control one thing in your life, or just be 1% better the next day, that's all that matters. You're going to have relapses and lapses, and that's okay. Everybody goes through that, even with weight loss or trying to stop sweets or coffee or anything like that. So just knowing that it's going to get easier, and it's not the end of the world if you fall back into a rut. You just have to be strong enough to get out of it.
We have a pharmacy team member who smoked for years, and I was trying to be encouraging and not, negative about trying to get her to quit smoking. And she, to her credit, did. And even more amazing to me is a couple things that she said after the fact. And one of them was, it was probably a year or so in, she's like, I look back at that and can't even believe I did that all that time. All the money I wasted and all, I feel so much better. And and the thing that amazes me the most is her husband still smokes, and she has maintained not doing it. And I think that takes a strong person, in my opinion. And definitely. It's just, I don't know. I think it all comes back to your why. I mean, whether you want to lose weight or stop smoking, or I don't know, take a new class for further your career, the why has to matter. It can't just be somebody telling you what to do. So
exactly. And that's one of the big, I think it's week 3 in our classes, we make them develop like a mantra, like come back to your mantra and make sure that you realize, if you're having a hard time, come back to that. Why are you quitting? A lot of times it's grandkids. A lot of times it's your spouse, and your spouse cannot give you an ultimatum, right? You can't, that's really hard to do. And I've had a couple patients that have gone through that, and it's harder on their end. But like your coworker, that's awesome. Like we have very few people that actually continue with the non-smoking status if their partners are still smoking or their family members are. So that's awesome. Good for her.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, we probably ought to do our last break, and then we can come back and give a nice summary.
Sounds good.
Okay, you're listening to Health Matters with the Medicine Center Pharmacy. We'll be back in a few minutes. So, welcome back to Health Matters with the Medicine Center Pharmacy. I am your pharmacist, Paul White, pharmacist Brad White, and I thank you for joining us. Let's get back to the last segment of the show.
Well, I thought it'd be helpful if you give another glowing review of your Give It Up program, how to contact you all, and where you can go to sign up, and if you have any doubts, why you ought to give it a chance.
Yeah, for sure. So our Give It Up program, that is the free tobacco cessation program that we do offer here at the Altman Hospital. It's a 4-week program that's held for 1 hour once a week. They're group sessions, so you're not alone. But it covers everything from creating quitting plans to tips on staying tobacco free. We discuss a lot of barriers that have kept somebody from quitting in the past. You learn to combat those obstacles that come along with quitting. We do offer that free nicotine replacement therapy, and not only are you alone, but you have us at your fingertips. Even after you graduate, you can still continue to come back to this program if you fall back into a little rut here and there. And it's definitely something that is easy to, sign up for. It's really easy to call us at our phone number, 330-363-5403. You can walk right into that cardiac rehab department in the Bedford building on the 3rd floor. You can sign up online, the altmanhospital.com/giveitup. Lots of different variety of options for class times. So you can do it in person, you can do it virtual if that's not something that you want to do. And we offer a variety of classes, and it's every 4 weeks. So we do offer them usually starting at the beginning of the month, and you're with us for a whole month. So even after you graduate, we do check in 30 days later, and then 60 if you need some more guidance. For sure.
You know, you mentioned, I think it's worth saying maybe a comment on the group setting.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there's occasions where you, the group leader, may provide some education and people are like, yeah, whatever, there's no way that'll work or whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's really helpful to have another person there that's been like, look, I've tried that. It works for me, you know, or if you're having this trouble, try that. I mean, sometimes that camaraderie helps. Do you have any comments on maybe a situation where your group carried the
Yes.
process for you, if you will?
Definitely. Yeah. I recently had a group probably 4 or 5 months ago, and everyone in that group, they were longtime smokers. They all had lung issues, and stress was their main issue, right? So the first session, we kind of just get to know everybody. You kind of tell me your why you want to stop, how long you've been smoking. And then we kind of go through, you know, what are your main barriers? Like, what are your main obstacles, and why are you not able to quit? Or why do you feel like you haven't been able to? And a lot of times that sparks a lot of conversation. You know, someone will hear, well, you know, money, like the cost of cigarettes have been going up, and they'll start going back to, you know, back in my day, that's the pack of cigarettes cost $2. And I'm like, man, now they're like $10 a pack, and I don't know how you guys afford it. So that is a good why of stopping to smoke or stop smoking. But it's definitely nice to see that interaction between people, because if it's just me, I mean, I'm a young person that, you know, wasn't around back in those days. So smoking was very common. You know, my grandfather or my parents, you know, probably smoked way back when they were teens, just because that was what you did. And so it's hard because I see the side effects and the issues that it has obviously brought upon people that were longtime smokers. So it's always nice to know that, you know, there's someone else around going through the same things, and the group setting just works a little bit better. Yeah.
You know what? Something that is a little random, but it made me think of something. We have I have a coworker whose daughter was looking for a job, and she applied at a vape store. And the first question they asked her was, do you smoke? And she said no. And then she said, I'm sorry, the interview's over, because if you start to work here, you're going to start to vape.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fascinating.
That
so
is
it's kind of works in the reverse. So, you know, the
Jeez.
5 people you hang around the most is what you become. Well, maybe you unfortunately need to look at your group if it's not a healthy habit. So
yeah. Oh, for sure. And just being in the schools lately, we've been into a lot of like elementary, high schools lately, just talking about that vaping initiative. And a lot of the younger kids are very against it. They are more knowledgeable than the upperclassmen, and it's crazy to see. And they've actually taught me and my coworkers a lot of information, because we're not vapors, right? We don't do that. So, you know, we're learning everything through them. And it's crazy to see that you can walk right into these vape shops, even not being 21 years old, and they are selling these products because, well, they're getting money for it, right? These kids are 16, 17, 18, and they're going to be, you know, long haul vapors because they're addicted to these products at such a young age. And it's scary to see. So I'm glad that person was not offered that job, because
it was pretty wild, I thought. Yeah.
In the long run, for sure.
And I don't know, I guess, you know, we don't, like you said, everybody's fighting their own battle. You don't know what someone's dealing with, if it's a family problem, a work problem, a stress problem, a money problem. So you look for ways to escape and get that dopamine hit.
Yeah.
I guess I would say to those people, you know, try exercise. That sounds, you know,
it's
bad, but
yeah,
you know, there's other ways than drugs and alcohol and smoking. It's just,
100%.
it doesn't have to be cool because your friend does it. So.
Right. Yes. And teaching that to young kids, that's the most important part. And that's what we're trying to get that across. Like, it's not cool.
So you mentioned the schools a couple times. Do you guys actively go into the schools for programs?
Yes.
And how does that look? I mean, what does that look like?
So we actually have a presentation that we go into these schools. Usually it's 1 to 2 times a week. Like we'll set up a time for a certain school. We've recently been in East Canton and Canton South and North Canton City schools. We go in and we literally just talk to these kids. We have a presentation about how it affects your heart and how it affects your lungs. And how much like nicotine are in these products and what are these chemicals that are affecting you, because a lot of them aren't aware of everything else that are in these, vaping products or cigarettes. There's formaldehyde and acetone and, arsenic in these cigarettes and vape products. So it's crazy when you give them that slide on that presentation, they're like, oh my goodness, like their eyes get really big. It's always very funny to watch their reaction. But we go in and we talk to these kids and get their feedback. It's more of a discussion based, so that they're able to teach us a little bit more too. They're telling us how they're getting it. You have to be 21 to buy these products. So you've got 12, 13-year-olds getting these products. Well, tell us how you're getting them. Like, we want to know that. So it's very eye-opening, and they're very informative on our end for sure. So we just communicate to the schools. If they're interested, we set up a time, we come in, and we teach this to their students.
I see smoking as the devil.
It is, yeah.
It really. How many people come to you and say, "Oh, thank you so much for getting rid of the devil"?
Yeah. Well, I wish I heard that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just crazy. I think more people are smoking now than in the past. It certainly appears like that. When you see people throwing cigarettes out of their car window and others stamping it out before they walk into your store, and gosh.
Unfortunately, there's more and more products out there too that bring this nicotine and tobacco into our system. So it's crazy to see. Yeah.
Well, I think we're pretty tight on time, aren't we, Brad?
We got a couple minutes. Is there anything that, Allison, we haven't talked about that you want to, or something you just want to reinforce before we wrap up, or?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I just always want to remind you guys, taking that first step, even if you're not ready to quit, going through, that talking to someone or going through the Give It Up program, it just kind of helps you have all of that information so that when you are ready, you have that at your fingertips. And I always recommend, when I call my patients, are you ready to give that up? Like, I get a lot of referrals from your primary care physicians or your cardiologists or your pulmonologists, and everybody's always like, well, I'm too busy, I'm going through a lot. Well, let me help you through this one thing. Just let me take that off of your hands. Just one thing will help relieve a lot of your issues or a lot of your stress. And this is one thing that you're able to control on how you want to quit, or if you even want to quit. So just taking that first step.
You made me think of something right there, and everybody's going through a lot of things. Maybe that's the first thing to work on that helps you build the cascade to help with the other things you're dealing with. So you got to start somewhere. So
exactly.
Why not start there?
That's what I always tell them. Like, just make that first step, dip your toes in the water, and the rest will follow.
Cool.
Wow. How about you share your information with us as to how individuals can get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can call the 330-363-5403. I'm at the hospital every Tuesday and Thursday, and I'm at the outbuildings the rest of the week, so they can direct you elsewhere. You can actually ask your physician to send in a referral for the Give It Up program. As soon as I get those hot off the press, I get your information and I call you, usually that same day that I get that referral. So that is another option, or you can email me, reach me at my first and last name, altman.com. So either way, you'll be able to find me one way or another.
Okay. All right. Tracking you down.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as my name is spelled right, we're good. I misspell it all the time. my husband points it out. He's like, it's been 12 years.
Wow.
Well, married 4, but together 12. So you'd think I would know by now.
Okay. I would like to thank Altman's cardiac division. I happen to have a heart cath in there this past week.
Okay.
And that division of the hospital is absolutely fabulous. The staff, the physicians, the nurses, the ancillary staff, everybody who helps, it was just fabulous. So
yes, they are great.
In and out in 6 hours. So how about that?
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you're doing well.
Yeah, I am. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, I guess, Allison Lipley.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Okay. Pulmonary rehabilitation lead at Altman Double Heart and Vascular Hospital. We would like to remind you, our listeners, if you suspect you have a medical issue, please contact your healthcare provider. Thanks to our sponsor, Altman Health Systems. As always, sorry. We thank our listeners for joining us on Health Matters with the Medicine Center Pharmacy. Have a healthy weekend. We will see you again next Friday right here on News Talk 1480 WHBC. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Very
Yep.
well done.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Yes, you too.
Have a good
No
day.
smoke, no smoking.
No smoking. Yes. Take care, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you.